Well, China just debuted a new fighter jet that is going to change everything we know about the future of combat. And as I'll explain in today's video, this new fighter jet represents a lot more than China's ability to grow its military power. It represents a technological leap that is going to influence the very future of US-China relations. But what's most amazing about this military breakthrough is this graph, which compares the military spending per capita between the US and China. Despite the US spending an astronomical $1 trillion a year on its military, China is quickly closing the gap, in doing so with much less money and resources than the United States. The news of China's new fighter jet quickly spread across social media, as this is the most advanced flying machine we have seen out of China. This is a 6th-generation fighter jet with stealth capabilities, but what's also noteworthy is this design has no tail, marking a significant jump in technology for the Chinese. The fact that this exotic aircraft was flying during the day in an area where it was seemingly easily photographed also tells us a lot about China's ambition. There is no doubt that China intended this fighter jet to be seen, and within 24 hours, articles like this from the war zone appeared. China stuns with heavy stealth tactical jet's sudden appearance. The article concludes with a simple yet powerful statement. The existence of this aircraft is a very big deal. Everyone, we have an action-packed video for you today, and in the second half of it, I'm going to share with you a New York Stock Exchange listed company that is ready to make a move in the silver market. JP Morgan is forecasting silver to hit $38 an ounce in 2025, and trust me, you'll want to watch to the end of today's video to learn more. But first, let's break down China's rise in technology, because even legacy media outlets like Bloomberg are now waking up to the new reality that US efforts to contain Xi's push for tech supremacy are faltering. The subheadline says everything you need to know. The world outside the US is increasingly driving Chinese electric cars, scrolling the web on Chinese smartphones, and powering their homes with Chinese solar panels. You see, there is a much bigger story here than simply China just debuting a new fighter jet. If we systematically examine every major area of tech, we can see China is becoming more self-reliant, stronger, and in a position to dominate the future. This report from Bloomberg should be on the desk of every US politician who believes it's still possible to stop China's rise. The simple fact is China can't be stopped. But these aren't my words. This is the direct research from Bloomberg Economics. Take a look at this fascinating graph that shows 13 key technologies of the future. China has achieved a global leadership position in 5 of them and is catching up fast in 7 others. Focus on the inner circle. This shows where China was in 2015. The 7 red dots reveal how China used to trail the United States in 7 major industries, but the second circle shows China's progress through 2024. Notice there are no more red circles. The third and final circle projects where China will be by 2030, and once again, there are no industries where China will trail the United States. The irony of this situation comes as we are less than 2 weeks away from Donald Trump's inauguration. Trump first hit China's government with tariffs in 2018 in an effort to reduce the trade deficit between the US and China. And while data from the US Census Bureau shows the US trade deficit with China has been reduced to its lowest level since 2010, Chinese companies have become creative and found a way to work around tariffs and increasing tensions. Let's break down a fascinating case study and examine the rise of Temu, a Chinese e-commerce platform that now dominates shopping in the United States. It's hard to believe the success Temu has found in the US, but these stats don't lie. Temu was the #1 most downloaded app in the US in 2024. Its website receives over 700 million visits each month, and the company earned more than $50 billion in sales last year. As this Wired article reveals, Temu's takeover is now complete. Despite growing political tensions between the US and China, the e-commerce juggernaut proved in 2024 it's here to stay. You see, this is where US politicians miss the big picture. American consumers don't care about politics. They want what everybody else in the world wants, the best products at the best prices, and this is China's biggest advantage. Temu's strategy for growth is brilliant because they sell Chinese manufactured products directly to US consumers. And because the majority of these orders are under $800 in value, these products can enter the United States tariff-free. Purchases from Temu and other Chinese websites like Shein, which has become the world's fastest growing fashion company, are not counted in US trade data, meaning that actual imports from China are much higher than official data suggests. And this is exactly what worries US politicians more than anything. You see, back in 2022, National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan outlined a series of technologies, including semiconductors, clean energy, and biotech, in which the US would, quote, maintain as large a lead as possible. The Biden administration saw these export controls as a new strategic asset the US government could use against China to, quote, degrade their battlefield capabilities. But China is not stupid, and the government realizes that having a strong manufacturing sector is not only important for the nation's economy, it's also essential for national security in an extreme scenario like war. Imagine if one day the United States tried to cut off China's oil and gas supply. This scenario could have the potential to devastate the Chinese economy, but this is precisely why the Chinese government started investing heavily in wind and solar power many years ago. China now dominates these industries and has become more self-reliant to make sure it never finds itself in a position where the United States or its allies could weaken China through external pressure. This is why China's government views tech innovation as the core of national development, and why China is investing in high-tech sectors like computers, scientific research, electrical, and special purpose machinery. Once again, this entire shift to becoming a manufacturing powerhouse and dominating these industries began many years ago when Chinese President Xi Jinping launched the Made in China 2025 initiative. If you want to understand the magnitude of this program and just how successful it's been, Mitch Presnick, an American expat with over 30 years of experience in China, states the blunt truth. China invested $9 trillion since 2005 to achieve tech parity and build a brand new national infrastructure. In the same period, the US spent $9 trillion on military campaigns in Iraq and Afghanistan with no peace dividend or economic flywheel effects. To help you understand the magnitude of China's transformation, take a look at this graph, which documents the global shift in industrial production. In 2000, China accounted for 6% of global manufacturing. By 2030, China is projected to account for nearly half of all global manufacturing. This shift is unprecedented in the modern world economy, but what's most alarming for US politicians is there is no realistic way for the United States to compete with China. Don't believe me? Just look at these graphs, once again from Bloomberg Economics, which shows the inverse relationship between the US and China and the number of patents issued. Over the past 3 decades, China has been increasing its research and innovation across all tech sectors, while the US has been steadily declining. The US simply doesn't innovate like it used to, and it's why China will have a dominant influence in these important industries like biopharma, energy, machines, robots, and information technology. Once again, I want you to remove yourself from the Western media bubble and start paying attention to what China is doing, because every day, new breakthroughs are being made, showcasing the amazing transformations happening throughout China. Earlier last week, Beijing debuted the CR450 high-speed train prototype that reached a test speed of 450 kilometers an hour with an operational speed of 400 kilometers an hour. When it enters into service, this will become the fastest high-speed train in the world to operate commercially. High-speed rail is one of the 13 technologies that Bloomberg identified as critical for the future of our world, and China has built an incredible 47,000 kilometers of it, which is about 7,000 kilometers longer than the circumference of the Earth. In fact, China's high-speed rail network represents 70% of all high-speed rail that exist in the world. But the innovation doesn't stop on land, and in fact goes back full circle to how we opened today's video: China's military expansion. Earlier last week, China launched its next-generation amphibious assault ship that can launch fighter jets directly off its deck. China already has the world's largest navy, and like the United States has done for many decades, is building up its military power. China is projecting strength and securing its position as the leader of Asia. As Donald Trump returns to the White House in just 2 weeks, the US-China relationship will be a key issue for his presidency. You might think that Donald Trump will be very hawkish against China, but Trump's latest comments about China and President Xi Jinping might surprise you.
You know, because China and the United States can together solve all of the problems of the world, if you think about it. So it's very important. And we spent hours and hours talking. And, you know, he's an amazing guy.
Have you spoken to Venezuela?
The press hates when I say that, but he's an amazing person.
This was a bold statement from President Trump, but perhaps we are starting to see a shift in attitude from U.S. politicians. Last week, the Wall Street Journal published an article with Gina Raimondo, the U.S. Secretary of Commerce, who now admits that trying to hold back China is, quote, a fool's errand. This is quite the pivot for Ms. Raimondo, who back in 2021 proudly announced the US needs to work with Europe to slow China's innovation rate. She now realizes the only strategy that could actually help the United States is for America to follow China's lead and start investing in itself instead of trying to sabotage the competition. But as I've preached on this channel, we study geopolitics because it influences the market, and many of you know the US and China are in a battle for the top minerals and resources in the world. Check out this amazing story on how China has been secretly stockpiling gold. Even Goldman Sachs is reporting the Chinese are buying as much as 10x the amount being reported in the official data. This is going to influence other precious metals and why I think silver has so much potential in 2025. With 2 weeks between now and the inauguration, I'm sharing with you the very first silver stock I've ever recommended on this channel. 9 analysts are covering this stock, and all of them have issued buy ratings with targets ranging from $3 to $4.50. Investment firms like Franklin Templeton and billionaire precious metals investor Eric Sprott are shareholders of today's video sponsor, Vizsla Silver, which trades under the symbol VZLA. And here is why Vizsla Silver could be a significant story in the silver sector this year. Vizsla's key project you want to research and learn more about is the Panuco Silver Gold Project in Mexico. This is no ordinary deposit. It has the potential to become one of the world's top 10 silver producing mines, and the company's vision is to become the world's largest single asset silver primary producer. Targeted to commence production in 2027, Panuco's economies are exceptional. The company intends to make a production decision only following release of a positive feasibility study. But here's the kicker, and why this company has so much potential. While the average peer spends $17.56 to produce 1 ounce of silver, Panuco, the company's flagship asset, has an estimated all-in sustaining cost of only $9.40, based on a recent preliminary economic assessment. Nothing is certain, but these preliminary numbers look great, especially when you consider that adjusted for inflation, silver is trading significantly below its all-time highs from nearly 50 years ago. For many years, investors have concentrated in big tech, but with globalization taking steps back, and with countries scared about their commodity supply chains, Vizsla Silver is advancing a project in Mexico. The company's largest shareholders include Franklin Templeton, one of the world's largest financial institutions with approximately $1.3 trillion under management, and Sprott Inc., which is considered the largest and most successful asset management firm in natural resources. The company's founder, Eric Sprott, himself is also a shareholder. As Vizsla Silver advances towards a production decision, the valuation gap is bound to close. The 2025 catalysts are nearing, and if management is able to make a production decision, what I refer to as the re-rating moment could become likely. Mexico, where the Panuco project is located, is the world's top silver producing country, and Vizsla's well-funded $90 million treasury ensures it's perfectly positioned to capitalize on the opportunity. This is going to be an interesting 2025 ahead, and it could possibly be one of the best years for silver yet. But as always, I want you to do your own research before making any investments, and I want you to read the entire investor presentation from Vizsla Silver, which I've listed down in the video description below, along with the company's website for you to do your own research. As always, I want to thank you for your support, and I look forward to seeing you all in our next video soon.